You know, I was wondering what to do for the background audio of this video, but then I realized I had an essay that I wrote about Dipper Pines and how he has autism. So here's that script. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, so this is the essay. It's called Dipper is Autistic. The show I chose to look at when it comes to neurodivergence is the hit 2010s cartoon known as Gravity Falls. This is one of my favorite shows and has quite a few neurodivergent characters. Well, not explicit, characters like Seuss, Mabel, Ford, and a few others, at least in my mind, are on the spectrum. For this assignment, I'll be focusing on the character with by far the most screen time, to make it easier on myself. Dipper Pines. Dipper shows throughout almost the entire series many typical autistic traits. Get out your notepads and glasses because we're doing a fictional diagnosis. Now let me first get this out of the way for those of you who are uncultured. Gravity Falls is a cartoon about this kid named Dipper who finds a mysterious journal in the woods, cataloging the weird and unexplainable things and creatures in the sleepy town of Gravity Falls. And Dipper, along with his sister Mabel, work together to fight off these creatures while also trying to survive being 12. And 2 seasons, a couple of books, and over 10 years later, I'm going to prove Dipper, the main character of this amazing show, has autism. Dipper does a lot of autistic-coded things in the show. For one, when he's thinking, he often paces. This could be a form of stimming. And let's not mention the pen clicking. The more overarching theme is his utter hyperfixation on the journals. He carries Journal 3 on him at all times, and flips through it almost constantly throughout the show. He plans out his conversations with his crush, which is the whole concept of the episode Double Dipper. And the best piece of evidence, he screams and stims when the author of the journals talks about writing them. If that's not autistic behavior, I don't know what is. While it isn't stated outright that he is in fact autistic, he might as well have a giant rainbow infinity symbol pinned to his hat. I think the show portrays Dipper in a mostly positive light. He is the protagonist, after all. Sure, he may have some flaws, but that's because he's a kid still trying to figure out life. He can be self-centered and a bit too focused on the 2 main goals he has, being with Wendy and finding the author. But I think that's more about him as a person rather than the condition. The autism is just a part of who he is as a person, which is exactly how representation for autism should be, in my opinion. Autistics aren't geniuses, but we're not poor, helpless souls in need of ABA therapy to cure us. We're just people. People like Dipper. This show has overall been received very well. I couldn't find a review that wasn't calling this show a 10 out of 10 must-watch. The article I chose was this Forbes piece that came out during the show's original run. It talks about how amazing this show is for a kid's cartoon, and talks about all the characters in a somewhat positive light. Except Seuss for some reason, because they fat-shamed him in the article. Like, why? I very much agree with this assessment, except the Seuss thing, because, of course, I am a huge fan of this show. I tried to find reviews that were negative, but the overall consensus is that this show is a masterpiece. I think a lot of what Gravity Falls says about neurodivergent people can also be said about the human experience. Don't get too caught up in things. Respect others. Appreciate what you have. Trust the people who care about you. Don't push your brothers into interdimensional portals. Forget that last one. Anyway, what I'm saying is Gravity Falls' characters are just like us. And Dipper being autistic doesn't change the fact that he's a wonderfully written, amazingly developed character. In conclusion, Gravity Falls is an amazing TV show with a very neurodiverse cast of characters, one of them being the main protagonist. And while it may not be stated, Dipper himself is autistic. He shows many of the traits of autism directly seen in the show itself, and him being autistic is not shown as a weakness or strength, just as a trait. I think the show Gravity Falls is not only aware of autistics, but actively embraces them. It's a show that tells people to look beneath the surface, to find answers, to find the hidden meanings, and I think with this essay I'm doing just that. And if it comes out that Dipper isn't autistic, I'll eat my own pine tree hat.